Yeah, that's a little loud, isn't it? Sorry. Alright. I'm playing music that I think won't get me copyrighted today. So hopefully it'll be on the VOD. We'll find out. Today we're on Pinterest. Why are we on Pinterest? Today we're gonna make a board. Today we're gonna look at some lore. And I'm gonna decide what I'm doing. Cause my current aesthetic is not working for me. It's just it's not working for me. So I'm gonna create a board and I'm gonna call it Jack Draws Games New Look. No, I'll just call it Jack Draws Games. And a secret. Don't tell anyone. So I'm gonna put that on there. I like that. I want sort of pastel, cottage core. We're keeping the overalls. I like this. I like the stars. And I wanna stay pastel. So I'm just gonna save a bunch of stuff. And it keeps suggesting one of my games to me because I'm on my I guess it's my work account. I like this. This is cute. So we're gonna scroll on Pinterest for a little while. We are gonna why is the muse not working? What do you mean nothing playing? That's not true at all. Okay, whatever. I'm not dealing with it right now. But yeah, I want like soft pastel forest vibes. And I don't know if that makes sense. But I want like, you know, cozy, comfy. I don't know. I like these painted jeans. That's fun. Like cute toy vibes. What if I search for... What comes up if I search for cottagecore BJD? Kinda. These are kind of the colors I want. What if I... Hang on. Cottagecore color palette. Warm oranges, yellows, greens, some cool blues to balance it out. More of a cottage pie core myself. What's up, Luke? What's up, Kenjamin? I need to keep my aesthetic, right? Like my blue and my pink is kind of me. I like this color palette a lot. But I want less colors? Maybe? I don't know. I kind of like that. I'm gonna save that one. I do want like a pastel rainbow, but like cottage core. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this color palette and I'm gonna put it into my. Can I? Okay, I'm gonna have to. copy image and paste it into here. This is Milanote, not sponsored, but I wish they would. If I was gonna be sponsored by anyone, honestly, a Milanote sponsorship would be great. I like them. I like them a lot. No, not that. Okay. I like that color palette a lot. I like this one a lot too. I'm gonna do the same thing. Put this in here. Let's see. Well, this one has my skin tone in it. Vermont cream. Yep, that sounds right. I want to keep similar vibes, but less in-your-face saturation. You know? I need to tone it down a little bit. Look at this watermelon. Is that AI? I think it is. Man. I thought it looked really nice and then I looked closer. Ooh, this is a good one. Oh no, don't do that. It's always a bummer finding AI on Pinterest, yeah. I think this one's my favorite so far. I don't know, but I like this green, this like, I think that maybe, I don't know. We're gonna keep going until we find our own unique color palette. Okay, let me search for pastel cottage core. Just to have, yeah, I like this. Even though that's not technically cottagecore, that's good. I love the patchwork. I love the patchwork. It's so cute. Very much into the tchotchkes, the plants everywhere. This pastel kitchen. Give me all of the pastel kitchen, please. Little tea set. Oh my god, the Smeg fridge. The purple Smeg fridge. I wish I had my own house. I wish so badly to have my own house. This is the vibe. Yeah. These are the vibes right here. Smeg! It's a brand of fridge. Smeg. Right here. S-M-E-G, Smeg. What? I don't even know what you're talking about. You're on about something I don't. You grew up watching Red Dwarf. Ah. It's a Red Dwarf thing. Yeah, I don't remember Red Dwarf. This is exactly what I want. This is the aesthetic right here. This one. Yes. It may also be AI, unfortunately. Smeg is a British slang term? Oh. Well, I didn't name the company. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Some filthy smeghead named the company. Maybe. They make like kitchen stuff. In like sort of American 50s aesthetic. Yeah. Delicious recipes. That's clay. I can't eat clay. Can I eat clay? I want it. It does look tasty. Pinterest says I can eat clay. Chat, Pinterest says I can eat clay. What do you guys think? The company came first. Then the term was popularized by Red Dwarf as a not swearing but kind of swearing insult. Oh. Wow. Yeah, Pinterest says I can eat clay. Tasty. I think this is AI, but I'm gonna save it anyways because that's the aesthetic. You can eat clay, but you can only eat it once. I'll try anything once. Yes, this is me. There's so much AI on Pinterest I'm like trying to avoid, but I truly can't. Like every time I think something's not AI, sometimes it is, and it makes me sad. Pinterest used to be a place of artists. Gotta filter your body with that clay. Yeah, exactly. Like, see, these look delicious, and then you look a second time, and you're like, oh. Are these lesbian fairies? Hell yeah. Slap that into the Pinterest. Where is it? Where's my... There it is. Give me that. Lesbian fairies. Ooh, I love this. The like mismatched frames. That's cute. Look at this Tamagotchi! Did you guys see? They're making a Pokemon Tamagotchi, and if you pet the top of the Pokeball, like the little Pokemon, it's so cute. You can pet them. I'm dead. It's $50. I'm sold. Give it to me. I'll take it. I'll take 20. I will not take 20. I cannot take care of 20 virtual pets. I can barely take care of myself. Hey, look, little snake toaster. I have an eyelash in my eye. That's stained glass. Look at this. That's so cute. I love a stained glass. So cute, so cute. Yeah, today's stream is scroll on Pinterest with me. You just gotta hang out. I mean, you guys would hang out if I did basically anything, right? So you are trapped with me. You're not. You won't have to be here. But you are, and I appreciate it. Let's see. Ooh, I like these. Corner molding. Am I an adult now? I like corner molding. What's the lore? Where am I? These are good vibes. I don't know why Amuse is broken, and actually it's kind of annoying me. That one. Log in. Maybe? Widgets, amuse. YouTube music. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, it's not connected. Why? Integrations, remote control. There it is. Okay, that was annoying me. All right. We're listening to Dan and Phil beats today. Because apparently it's DMCA free. So we'll see if I get got. How do I save to this one? But I don't think it's actually gonna save what I think it is. Oh no, okay. There we go. Alright. Let's see. I like the strawberry cup. That's so cute. Everything's so cute. Picnic vibes. Laurel Cafe. Look at this little strawberry bunny. Oh, that's so cute. Alright. Ooh, strawberry bread? Strawberry bread? Are you? Oh, they've like stuck the strawberries on the side. That might be real. Look at this little house mug. Oh my god, maybe that's what I'll paint at my birthday. Ooh, moth bee tile? Cool. This the cozy vibe. Oh, floral lemon tarts. Yes. This is what I want. Alright. Pastel CMYK palette. Well, CMY palette, because K is black, and I don't know if I want, because I don't want to have like harsh lines. CMY palette. Do brown instead of black, because it's nicer. I guess K is just key, but it's most commonly black, so I guess my key would be brown. Maybe. I don't know. I'm making shit up. I don't know anything. I just pretend. I pretend to know things. Let's see. Yeah, K stands for key. And it's like the finishing touches, the lines. Give me what I want. You work in CMYK offset printing. Oh yeah, because you do like package design, right? It's cool. None of these are the right vibe. Also, there's a ton of AI in here. I like this one's makeup though. I'm gonna save that. All right. That might be enough interest. So let's go in here. And let's save stuff to Milano. Can I save multiple things? Oh, I can. But I can't see half my screen. Move that away. Okay. I like this one. I like this one, even though I think it's actually AI. Just getting the sort of vibe. No, stop. Stop it! No! I think some of these things are AI, and I can't avoid it. And I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. Doing my very bestest. One of these like kitchen ones in here. The clutter. This corner molding. This one. Yeah. Alright. I want to pick one of these palettes, I think. Not your fault that the chuds floated the net with fake stolen images. Yeah. I don't even know which one this is. Oh, there. I'll organize these better once they're actually in here. Alright. Make some of these like cropped in a little more. Oh good, hang on, there's a watermark there. Keep that. This one has the watermark in the corner here. That's fine. I'm just gonna crop it anyways. Alright, no caption. Because they're all from Pinterest. I'll just keep that whole one. We're making a Pinterest board out of a Pinterest board. Is what's happening right now. No, I'm organizing. All right. Yeah. It's kind of funny. All right. So the lore is that yeah. Yeah. In a small meadow surrounded by forest, a toy maker's shop sits abandoned, yet full of life. Yeah, and that's where I live. I'm inside. So if I go back to Pinterest real quick and I search for, let's say, steampunk cottage? And try to find something that's not AI? Oh my god. Just the amount of AI in here is kind of killing me. Steampunk workshop. Okay, hang on. Let me... because I'm not actually... I want... someone's Palia workshop. That's kind of cool. Rose, there's so much AI in here. What about... cottagecore workshop? Okay. Getting some images that might be real. I just like completely lost track of what I was doing for a second. Just vibing over here. Let's see. Is this an illustration or is this AI? This might be an actual illustration. Hallelujah. Oh, this is so cute with the little spiral. I like that layout a lot. I love, like, clutter. I definitely want clutter. It's a good vibe. Because I kind of want my VTuber aesthetic to match, like, the kinds of games that I want to be making. So, and I'm just like kind of tired of like full saturation pastels with like no break. my eyes are tired. Ooh, with the books, that's pretty. This character looks very small. I like that. Beep beep. Beep 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 beep. A little teacup. That's cute. And this little lamb, so cute. The lamb plush. Oh, baby, little baby lamb plush. Mushrooms. Cow, baby cow plush. Whose cow plush is this? Afternoon fika, maybe? So cute. Oh, cow. That's a crochet pattern? Oh, they're using that super fluffy yarn, yeah. A rabbit. I want more Alice in Wonderland vibes too, because I love Alice in Wonderland. There's just not enough of that aesthetic in my life. I think that might be AI. I'm gonna save it anyways, because I have no choice. No choice. Ooh, I like these overalls. Ooh. Is this an object head? Where the head is just a circus tent? That's kind of sick. Actually, I like that. That's cool. This is how I feel every day. I can't make my model make that face. Dang it! I'm trying. Kind of like that. So focused on all of the wrong things. This little dollhouse gazebo. I didn't play board games. Ooh. Oh. I love print and play stuff. That's so fun. I'm sorry I keep yawning. I'm sure that I am making you guys yawn too, and I apologize. I'm just so eepy today. This little goblin man. Little goblin man. He's so cute. I like Little Goblin Man. I blame my yawning on that. Okay, cool. It's not my fault. No Goblin Man. Now that my hodgepodge of images is coming together. All right. That should be enough images, I think. Shift things around a little bit. Okay. All right, Clip Studio paint time. Got a few color palettes here. Sort of play with. I think I really do like this color. Let me add a new color. Create new set. need this many. Alright, whatever. Okay, so I think I really like this color. Maybe a little more blue. I'm gonna start with the primaries. So if I take them all from and then we sort of want that like ratio, okay, I like that, I think. I might like this pink better. Just slightly more cool toned, maybe? It's a lot more cool toned. Maybe this one too. Just saturation a little bit. Yellow should be the lightest. And then pink. And then I think that's good. Sort of skin tone. Blush tone. Which is a little more orange. Purple and like sort of mid blue. A little more saturation. Not too much. It's too much. Well, I probably won't use too much orange. actually really don't like that orange. Probably won't use too much purple either. Okay, let's try this. Oh, I drew it on the same layer, huh? That's fine. Why is it an ellipse? I have never used the ellipse select in my life. Let's try... Let me grab... Where's my... Let's see, Storybook. This one. Alright, let's just we'll do a little sketch. Let's see. I like this brown. It's very nice and warm. I've been drawing a lot more like chibi stuff lately. Because I've been doing game design stuff, and a lot of my game design stuff is kind of chibi. So bled into this a little bit. It's okay. Alright, so there we have a sketch. Let's slap some color on here. Already better, I can tell. More consistent. Like warmer. Even though a lot of my colors are cool toned. This hair needs to be on a separate layer so I can do my gradient thing. Just giving it a sepia tone to feel old-timey. Yeah, exactly. I like that a lot, actually. Still not sure how I want to draw eyes. Yeah, look at that. I think I want a slightly like more yellow and lighter brown. Hang on. What if we do medium and light? And then we can have There we go. Sad. 'Cause the rest of this is aligned. I don't know if this is exactly gonna be my outfit, but I got the hiccups. We do that, and then what don't I like about this blue? No clouds. I think I'm really happy with this, actually. Alright, let's confirm this palette then. We've got the face, and then I might move these around. Can I move these around? Can I edit? I think I gotta. Alright, let me try a lineless version. I'll just sort of paint over it. Wait, put this in Twitch. Yeah. Alright, there we go. I was thinking the other day, like, how would I run a Minecraft-based D&D campaign? Right? Just me? Like, I don't know, I feel like that could be really fun. If I could figure it out. And like have a whole bunch of people on the server, like an SMP, like all doing different like quests and stuff. That'd be so cool. Worth looking into. Right? Like that seems like something that would be so cool if I could figure it out. You guys will of course be the first to know if I do. I figured out how to make dice roll in Minecraft the other day. My dad helped me make a Minecraft mod that allows you to roll dice in the commands. So it has a command that lets you roll whatever, basically whatever die you want. It's pretty cool. Yeah, my dad's pretty cool. I like him. I think I'll keep him. Grian might run that mod or is part of the team that does it. Grian is making a D&D Minecraft mod? I think I've heard of mods that do something like that. Huh. I know that I think Rubber Ross was trying to do something like that, but apparently nobody's heard anything about the project in like months. So it may be dead. I mean, it's if you were making like a mod for it, then that would be a lot. But I feel like that was really good. Swoop. But... what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Like, there are definitely mods that could do it. But the problem is that if they're client side, they might not work on Bedrock. So I want to see if I can figure out how to run it on Bedrock so like people like Moxie and Nathan will play. Because they don't do the Java. If I could find a controller mod that was good enough, they might, but do this freaking swoop thing. Like, how could I run it for the people of the server? Why can't I draw this freaking eye? I know how to fix this. Nope. Geyser, I think is the name. Yeah, I've been messing around with Geyser. I've been messing around with it. I haven't had time to like set up a server to see if it actually works. But I've also been looking into like how could I don't know, like how could I make it, right? Because I feel like because I feel like there's not one that like actually does what I really want it to. I don't know. I have to keep looking. If we make a D&D server, I would love to join. Yay! I would love to have as many people in it as possible. I will destroy all Minecraft server economies with my generosity. So funny. Kenj said end capitalism. Right? No Minecraft capitalism on my server. like how this was supposed to be a, like, quick concept sketch. Sure, Jack. Quick concept sketch. I know how to do that. I can do quick. I can do concept. Can I do both? Yes. Is that what this is? No. This is gonna end up being my new profile picture, I think. It's cute. I like it. Alright. That's so cute. Multiply. There you go. That's so cute. Who's this cute little creature? Not me. Not me. I'd never. want to actually think about the outfit here for a second. Let me look at my board here and think about what I want to do for an outfit. I like the green overalls, but if I'm gonna have a lot of green in the background, I don't want a lot of green in the foreground. Yeah, no? I do like the idea of keeping yellow. Just pull up. I was messing around with concepts. Where did I put that? Was I putting that? Have that one. Oh, okay, that's where I put it. I don't know if I might keep this one a little secret. Cuz I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. I'm just going to pull it up. I open with Yeah, okay. I'm gonna keep some elements from that. And yeah. But so yellow blouse. Yellow blouse. Because I think it's cute. And I like the sort of CMY palette that I have. Even though it's not magenta really, it's pink, but it's fine. All right. Gosh, not again. has been acting up lately and I don't know why. It's really annoying. I think I do like Alright. Come on. Do what I want you to. Why? Alright. Cool. Good enough. To separate a little bit. I'm gonna move this one just a little. Yeah. This feels like they're too small. That's what happens when you make your arms an afterthought. That's fine. I'm gonna redo it. And think about where my arms are. I just bring this other arm up here. Sort of like that anime CMY catch. You inspire me, Jack. I know what I'm gonna name my map art shop. CMY Kenj. I love that. That's amazing. CMY Kenj. That's good. That's funny. This looks too long. I like CMY Kenj a lot. CMYK has a special place in my heart because I don't know why. I just love it. CMYK forever. Well, if you love it, that's what really matters. CMYK was kind of how I learned about color theory. And because I am of the autistic persuasion, it always just stuck in my head. Like, CMYK is the primaries and everyone else is wrong. So yeah, CMYK is the favorite child. Sorry, RYB. It's CMYK's era. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh. It's been playing songs that are not the songs that I specifically picked. I may get striked for that. Uh-oh. We'll find out. I look up and I'm like, that's not Dan and Phil beats. Alright, well, hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. Got some buttons. Take this. The canvas size. Change canvas size. Change canvas. Okay. That's cute. Let me see if I like it bigger. Like, I cut me off at the bottom. Smaller. Yeah. That's cute. It's cute. I'm liking this new color palette a lot. I don't know if I love this arm. I think it looks weird. But that's fine. Okay. The real point of that is that this color palette works together and it's not overlapping in a weird way. Can I? Let's see. How did I do it before? Okay, that's not bad in terms of contrast. Actually, everything is, yeah. The yellow and the skin tone are a little close, but I can fix that with shading. So let me do that over here too. Yeah. The yellow and the skin tone are a little close, but I think that's fine. Cool. I'm happy. Let's see. I was gonna design a room, or like if I was gonna do a starting soon screen, right? Just will sort of be my sketch color. And I kind of want it to be like, let's see. And then we have like little like porch. No. Sort of like a bay window here. Sort of like a porch. And then there's like a little chimney here, maybe. Oh, some kind of stained glass here. Maybe I'll go into The Sims later and make this house so that I can actually draw it. I don't want to do it now, though. And there would be like trees in the background. Sort of like Animal Crossing-y trees, I think. And then my room. think I want to keep the, like, attic room thing. Wait, how did I do it the first time? Hey, Yenny Moerte, how are you doing today? It's good to see you. Let's see, I have walls. Kind of like that. I don't know, kind of like that. And then the floor. So we've got window. I guess this wouldn't be the same because I'm in the dollhouse, not in the workshop. So the workshop would be different from the dollhouse. So maybe I'll keep my, like, star window. Or change it up a little bit. I don't know. Some kind of star window. And then maybe like paneling. Here. Yeah, that's good enough. Floorboards. And we have, like, furniture. So definitely gotta keep my, like, craft desk. And, like, stuff on the walls. Sewing machine. That's close enough. Basically what it looks like. And then I might still put my bed in the middle. I could put my bed over here though. I have like a little cozy bed area. Maybe we'll do some like shelf and the shelf. No. Let's do like picture. Do like a little like mini gallery wall here. Plushies on the bed. And then I think we'll do more pictures up here. It would be cool if like if I was ever famous enough to get fan art, right? I could put fan art in these. No, I think I want shelves on this side. So, shelf. And then we can have like a little bedside table here. With some kind of lamp. And then maybe there's like a plant here. And I definitely want to keep my glowy stars on the ceiling. Hi, Play Possum! What's up? There's some drawers here. Here too. No drawers. Drawers everywhere. We need them. Need that storage. What's going on? We are working on sort of concepting my new look. So we're sort of toning everything down a little bit. Chilling out a little bit. Little more vintagey colors. So that's kind of my room. I wanna... kinda think about the VTuber design, right? I obviously I don't want my eyes to go above here. I have no idea how I want to draw eyes. It's like the one thing I've never truly figured out with my art style. And as funny as the like spooky BJD eyes are, I don't know. I don't know if that's how I want to be perceived. I don't know if it matches my vibe. We'll try to sit with that for a while. Thick eyebrows. Definitely gotta keep those. The eyes are too high. It looks so calm. be single jointed in my thighs, or do I want to be double jointed? I think I want to be double jointed. Uh-oh. Accidentally gave myself a double chin. Watch me get struck for nudity. It's not real! not real. Reality is an illusion. Buy gold. What's the rest of that? Reality is an illusion. Time is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye. I think. I don't know. I just suddenly realized that I was drawing a highly detailed belly. and then I realized, meaning has no meaning. Black is white, up is down, and short is long. Gravity Falls is such a good show. Yeah. Everything you know is wrong. I love that song. It's a good song. Yeah, Weird Al for the win. I'm having a really good art day. Like, truly. I'd do the star knees on me. Then if I wanted to make me real, I could just straight up steal Pixie's body. Which would make no sense to anyone but me. No, you guys have seen Pixie. You saw her leg the other day. I posted it in the Blacking Crew. I feel like my head needs to be bigger. Yeah, okay. About right, I think, proportions-wise. Think some boots. Maybe. Like, maybe some cute ribbon laces. Not that anyone's ever gonna see the shoes. You know. Where it looks like it's like folded over, and then the bow will be in the front. I know I'm gonna need. I know I'm gonna have overalls because I always have overalls. And if this is like my sort of everyday look, then it would be collar, Peter Pan collar, puff sleeves. Overalls. how do I... okay, so... I have my VTuber basically, like... here? So let's accessorize. Maybe a little star clip. We'll do definitely like a little star earring on one side and then maybe like a paintbrush on the other. Because I do like the mismatched earrings that I have. Or like a pencil or some kind of art tool, I think. And then... So I'm gonna make that a little more obvious. Gotta have enough space here. I don't know. I feel like I can't get this shape right for some reason. Alright, I think that's better. Let's see, how do I want to do eyes? this here. North. Eh. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know how to draw eyes. Everyone draws eyes. I don't know how. I haven't found like the way I want to draw eyes, you know? I'm looking through my like art reference Pinterest. See if I can think. Thinky. How do I want to draw eyes? Totally off topic, what if I gave myself pointy ears? That'd be really fun, right? What if I just, just like a little point. Like a little bit of a point. That's cute. Yeah. Okay. Alright, back to looking for how I want to draw eyes. Now that I've gotten completely sidetracked. Nada. Nothing. How about another... Am I complicating this because it's a VTuber and I should just do something really simple? Maybe. Maybe I am. Because when I draw it, like, normally, I draw eyes really simple. Maybe I should just stop trying to be someone else. You know? Not everything I do has to be more complicated than the last. You know? I could just do something simple. What if I tried... like... white pupils could be kind of cool. Like if I... And then... That'll look. Hello, Splooky! It's been going good. How are you doing? I like that. I don't know. Like, do I like it because it's different, or do I actually like it? You know? You tired? It's been pretty sleepy lately. The eye color is a banger. Thank you. I was trying to figure out if I like the white pupils or not. No, I need some kind of highlight for sure, but I don't know if white pupils is the thing. Ooh. What if I... But then, like, as the eyes moved, this didn't move, right? Maybe. No, I don't. I don't like it. Not that. Stop it. What you making? It's my new VTuber. Maybe a highlight in the middle of the eye with non-white pupils. I sometimes do that when it looks good. Could do something like that. I think I'm liking this. I used to do this like big chunky rectangle highlight all the time, and I think I like that. Maybe I'll bring it back. But now it doesn't look good anymore. Haha. It's gonna look so banger. Thank you. Yeah, we're changing my theme a little bit. So here, let me show you. It's gonna be more muted pastels. And like sort of cottagecore kind of vibes. Going away more and more from the clown theme. Yeah, I mean, I let it go basically immediately. And so maybe I put my face underneath this. So it's just kind of been a remnant for the entire time I've had it. And I've been talking about replacing it for a while now, and I just haven't. clown lingers. Oh no. Oh no. I don't know if I like that. The clown will linger no longer. Banish the clown! No, I can't banish the clown. Unfortunately, the clown is me. Personality-wise, anyways. You are not clown. I am. Oh, I'm worm. I'm not clown, I'm a worm. What's that? What's that, Vines? Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this. I still need to put a timer on these, but I haven't quite figured out how to do that. I don't know if there's like a thing where I can be like, go back to previous model. I'll just turn it back when I get bored at this point. When I get bored of being a worm. I think this is my most used channel point redeem. Is the worm. It's pretty funny. It's a good channel point redeem. It's a very good channel point redeem. It's probably a close tie with Rar though. Especially when we play Baldur's Gate, that one gets used a lot. Kind of trying to see how it'll look in context. which is kind of hard to do. Without, like, drawing the whole model. And anyone who knows me knows I hate unnecessary work, so I'm trying to do as little as I possibly can. Like, I don't want to be piling on layers right now. I always make too much work for myself by not thinking things through from the start. Yeah. Okay, well, something about this face is bothering me, but I don't think it's the eyes. So, mission success? Question mark? That's look great, thank you. I'm about to show up on one of those art style glow down Reddits though, I feel like. Cause people see less detail and they go, bad. Worse. I'm not popular enough for that. Honestly, if I showed up on any kind of Reddit, I think I would be proud of myself. I'd be like, look, Mom, I'm famous. The Reddit, they know of me. Alright, this will give me a better context as well. Might be good engagement bait on TikTok. Yeah. Watch as my art style gets worse. Compliment me. That's what it feels like when people do that sort of self-deprecating content like that specifically. Like, I make a lot of self-deprecating jokes. I get it. But why can't I draw the nose? What is it because this blush is already here? I don't know. Good enough. The TikTok people aren't that smart. Lamau. Yeah, you'd be surprised, I think. Why is my nose disappearing? Okay, well, that's better, I think. Just for reference. What is it that I don't like? I think it's the eyes. There's still something I don't like about him. It still doesn't feel like me. But why? For why? For what reason? Do I need to put these back? Oh, it is better. Is it? Is it better or is it different? I don't know. But luckily, I don't currently have to know. Because it is now... Oh, it's not! Oh, no! Well, it is time to end. But apparently Black is not, maybe not streaming today. Okay, well, I guess we're... Maybe, I don't know, is there someone else I can raid today? What do we have? We have a round. Alright, well, I think we are just going to end. I am unfortunately a little too anxious today to be noticed. So, I'm gonna continue working on this off screen, and maybe eventually we shall see it in its final form. But remember, you were here first. Yay! Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me. It's a little warm today, so yeah. Thank you, Luke. If you all are in the Minecraft server, you may see me around today. I'm thinking I might hop into some Minecraft. I don't know, maybe. I'll see you all Wednesday. Bye bye.